15 minutes.
Good enough. Good enough, Jeff, for that?
I'm fine.
Okay, we'll call to order the July 14th business meeting of the Pentucket Regional School Committee. First order is roll call. Wayne Adams is here, Joanna Blanchard. I just do it different, make it quicker, Wayne. Jill Eichhorst, Doug Jelena, Brian
Yep.
Page, Chris Redding, Chris Weil, Jack Willett. Lisa O'Connor is absent. Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have a flag in the room, but Jeff tells me over at the high school.
If you
that's-
want to look through the roll over there, there's a flag. Okay.
Pledge of
Pledge
Allegiance.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda. Need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Minutes, business meeting minutes from June 17th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Public comment? You're not here for that, Sandy?
No public comment.
On to superintendent's report.
Okay, a couple of items. We're going to be talking about our athletic facilities and doing an update. Greg's going to give that in a little bit. The good news is that despite the dust, we're about a week ahead, and we're doing some really great work. Greg can give you more details when we get into that. There's an MASC conference coming up. It's an annual conference. Jack, maybe you could tell us like just a snapshot of what goes on at the MASC conference.
They have workshops on different items. You go to workshops, you pick up a lot of good things. In the past, we've gone. Yeah.
Superintendent's evaluation,
Yeah.
food,
On what-
services.
Regionalization.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of new stuff. You bring all the brochures back and you give them to Greg. He gets them all.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah.
But it is a good experience. And you're not going this year?
I don't know, if there's other people who'd like to go, I'd like to go again,
Good,
but I've gone for a
good.
few years, so.
Okay.
But some of the conference, topics might be new health initiatives that may be coming through the district in the upcoming year to make us aware of it, some of the sports things, sports injuries, things like that, and how the
Concussions,
districts-
yeah.
Concussions, insurance, they
Yeah.
talk about a lot of the business end of things for the school committee, so it's very worthwhile, so I recommend that people who are interested contact Mary Ann.
And the reason that it's important now is we would have a discounted fee for going if, what's the cutoff date, Mary Ann?
Tomorrow.
Oh. Well, so if you can't decide by tomorrow, no hard feelings. But if you can decide by tomorrow, we get a discount for the fee. Is that right?
Almost $300.
Yeah.
It's $298.
That's if you
discount.
go all 3 days, and you don't have to go all 3 days.
Right.
You can only do one day, but you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if anybody would like to go, let Mary Ann know, and we'll take care of that. That would be great. So that's, I think, all I need for my superintendent's report for tonight.
Next, we're on to the Pentucket Education Foundation donation.
And we have Sandy and Anna Marie here. Hi, Anna Marie. You're all tanned. You've been vacationing. Coming up. And they have some really great news from the Pentucket Education Foundation for us.
Yep, we're going to present a check to you for $7,980. And this is for the ZBrush software for the IMAX.
Great.
And,
Thanks so much.
We're happy to be able to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, please, right. You can have a seat right back there. So does everybody know what ZBrush is about and how it connects to what we're doing? I thought I'd just give just a brief sentence or two about that. So as you know, we have an innovation school for the arts, and particularly around special effects. So we have a new Mac lab that's coming in by virtue of some good work that the PEF did with the Institute for Savings. And so that's good. You have the hardware. Now this gives us ZBrush, which is one of the fundamental tools to actually do digital sculpture, digital painting, and other great things for our kids. So this is just a phenomenal thing that's occurred for us through the spring, and I think we're all set to go for the upcoming year. So thank you so much.
And I just want to say Sandy has been organizing an event the last couple of years with Dr. Rocks, and this money's actually coming directly out of the proceeds. So I want to really thank Sandy and a group of alumni that have really worked together to help build up, that account, fun things like this.
Great. Well, this is just terrific, and we're gaining so much good momentum with our innovation schools. It's going to be very helpful. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is this school specific to one of the schools?
The high school.
So it goes to high school donation center. I just need to know where to put it. High school donation.
Yeah, it goes to high school. Jonathan, I don't think can make it tonight, but he's
Yeah.
aware of that, and I'm going to
Yeah, great. Yeah, we're on track.
Do we need to vote to approve?
Yeah, $7,900 we need to approve.
Have a motion to approve to
accept
accept the
the
donation?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Very good.
Thank you very much. Merrimack Heights Academy.
So I think we have some folks who are joining us from Merrimack Heights Academy, is that right? Yep. And so typically what happens is that we all have our discussion here, and we had a public comment, but it may be a good idea for us to have you make some statement or provide some information too. So I've just distributed to everybody a copy of some information today, and it gives you a little bit of a summary of the path since about December when Merrimack Heights Academy came to us with an application. You all realize that our obligation is to provide an evaluation. It's part of the process that's used to go to the State Department for their approval. So I've given you a little bit of a summary there. You can see on the front page that we've completed about every item. There are just 3 that are outstanding, and we're pretty close to have met all of those different criteria that we were looking for. In the last part, I've provided you a document that I received last week from Paige Tobin, who acts as our attorney, and provided you with a summary of your obligations as an approving agent for a private school. So, with that said, I know this is all, that the information from Paige is new information for you, and I concluded by saying that you may want to take some time to look through it and moving this item to the August meeting prior to actually doing another vote. So you all did a vote. I've had since then some more information come to me. You can see that we're pretty close to completing, and I think with some additional details I would have completed all of those different boxes on the front side. So by August I think you'd be in a different position and in a position to vote. So I didn't know if it would be acceptable to have Merrimack Academy, maybe they'd like to say a few words.
I think it'd be advantageous, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Maybe introduce everybody.
My name is Mac Clark, and I am the counsel for Merrimack Heights Academy. Ligia Suarez is the executive director, and Skip Short is on the board of directors. And we certainly are interested in answering any questions or concerns that you have. Could I start, Jeff, by saying, just commenting briefly on the summer program issue that you and I talked about a little bit ago?
Yeah, sure. I brought to their attention that some folks had come to me wondering how a summer program was started up over at Merrimack Heights, or at least the beginnings of one, when we hadn't completed the process yet. So before this meeting, I brought that to their attention.
The materials that you saw were that little brochure that said Summer Program 2014 were prepared last February when they anticipated they would have been approved by now. And they're not, obviously, and they're not running a program. There are 3 children who come there for tutorial work this summer. That's really what it is. It's three tutorials. It's not a program.
Yeah.
It's not the summer program that was advertised in the brochure, because obviously that was made up in February, where we would have run a, full-fledged program had we been approved, but we couldn't advertise it, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I think the concern that came to me was that that's what they were reading on your website. And so,
It's not happening anyway.
Okay.
We just have the 3 kids there, and they
Okay.
just come in for the tutorials.
that's a help, thanks.
Okay.
More generally, I have worked closely with Paige Tobin, your counsel, for the last couple of months, and I think we've had a very constructive process. She's very knowledgeable and very capable and good counsel for you, and I've worked with her a lot of times in the past, and we're able to discuss things and try to find the common ground, and that's the style we were trying to adopt. Merrimack Heights is interested in obviously being a good colleague with the Pentucket school system. And we are appreciative of the fact that you're giving this reconsideration. One of the things that Paige and I talked about extensively was the actual standard that applies to local school committee approval of a private school as compared to the DESE, the state approval process. Merrimack and no other private school, and I represent about 100 private schools, can even apply to the State Department of Education for approval until they have local school committee approval. So, and the process that the state goes through takes about 1.5 years. And we haven't even been we're not allowed to submit our application to them until we have local school committee approval. The application that's going to go in from this school, as it is for most schools, is going to be about this thick. And it's going to take the Department of Education the better part of a year, if they're on the ball and working hard, to get through that. And that's standard operating procedure. So what really happens in real life is that all private schools that start up these days start as what's called an unapproved program. And they can take children on what's called a sole source basis. There's a new term for that now, but for years it was called sole source. So there's a application process that each student has to go through to get into the private school that's unapproved. And there is a process by which the rate is determined by the Commonwealth for that unapproved program. And we'll be going through those things. And we will, like every other school, start as an unapproved school. Some schools will make the decision that they don't want to send a kid to an unapproved school. Some will, depending on the needs and the fit and whatever happens. We are anticipating opening with somewhere between 5 and 10 children. We have 5 children right now where the cities and towns that they live in are communicating with us. I know there was some concern on this committee about whether or not Merrimack Heights Academy would be, I'll use a term that my colleagues in the public sector lawyers use, colluding with parents to get kids into private schools. I want to be very clear, and Liz, you can speak to this more eloquently than I can, that we are not doing that. We sent a copy of our policy, and we will not take a referral that comes from a parent. We will take unless the parent writes a check for the full amount for the full year and isn't going back to the school system. We will only take referrals from public school special ed administrators or departments in terms of kids coming in from. We have the right to take private placements. We don't anticipate any, but we'd be happy if somebody wanted to write us a check for whatever the tuition is.
They have to sign a waiver that they would not go back to the public
And they would have to sign a waiver that they would not then go back to the public school and try to get the public school to fund the placement. That has been a huge problem in Massachusetts, and it is probably one of the most irritating things to public schools and public school administrators and school committees and superintendents. And most, if not all, of my clients have been read the Riot Act on that over the last 10 years, and they are not doing that. And we don't want that to be a problem in terms of our ability for folks. So that will not happen. Right now, there are 5 different communities in Essex County that have expressed an interest in the school for September. We would like to get up to 10 or 12 kids, but we'll start with 5 or 6. The legal question here, and I'm not bringing this up to be combative, but to be educative, I guess, if that's even a word. There is a standard that you folks need to look at, which is that the program and the curriculum in the private school would basically be acceptable to the public school and be an equivalent of the learning that goes on in the public school. That's Mass General Law, Chapter 76. Paige spelled that all out very clearly in the materials that you were just given. When you get a chance to read it, I think it'll be very clear. The Department of Education, as usual, confused things dramatically back in 1982 when they sent out a checklist to public schools of things they should look at in looking at approval for private schools. And they updated it in 2007. And there are 9 categories on that list. And they're the categories that Jeff has listed on the front of the materials. Only 3 or 4 of them are relevant to your decision. And we have met all the ones that are at this point. They're all in the complete category. We are more than happy to share with you whatever information we can on all of those categories. The 3 that are still outstanding, one is how we're going to measure the academic progress that the kids in our school are making. And we'll get that information, Jeff, to you probably tomorrow or Wednesday. The second one was in terms of physical plant and safety. We had a couple things to remediate. Those have been done. We actually have the documentation on that. We would have brought it tonight if we realized this, but we'll get that to you as well. The third is the issue of financial reserves. That's a reasonable thing to ask, obviously. From our standpoint, it's a very important issue we want to be on top of course. It's not any grounds for denying approval to the private school by the public school committee, but it certainly will be a big issue with the DESE, and it's a big issue for us because we obviously want to be solid. We're not going into this business to go out of business anymore. And we will get you some information on that as well. The one thing I want to just point out in terms of a general concept is, and then I'll be quiet, the general concept is when you're starting up, I suppose this is true for you folks too, if you're starting a new program or something in one of the public schools, you know, you ramp it up. You don't staff up with 20 teachers if you've only got 5 kids. Maybe 3 years from now you have 30 kids and you need 12 teachers. So the look at finances is always fluid. And we have reserves, and we'll describe them, and we have a budget, which is a tool. It's not a set-in-stone thing because it's going to be dependent on the enrollment. And if we're starting with 5 kids, we'll have 1 classroom. We'll have the expenses of 1 classroom. If we have 10 kids, we'll have the expenses of 2 classrooms, but we'll have twice as many tuitions. It'll work that way. So I think that we'll try to put some materials together for you that make that clear. But we have a common interest in not being insolvent. I want to just advocate one thing, if I could, and that is the timing concern that we have. As I said earlier, we have 5 towns in Essex County who are very interested in placing kids in our school in September. They can't start that process formally until we have approval from this school. And they won't do that. And that's understandable. So my concern is if we're going into August, that doesn't give them a lot of time to make decisions about these kids and other alternatives they may have to fall back on. So I guess I'm making a plea, which is based on the fact that we think we have now met, and you have acknowledged that the relevant criteria for the local school committee approval have been met in the chart that you've got. We'll give you all the other stuff. And I'm just wondering if, not asking you to take a vote tonight, but if there's any way that you have in your minutes or your bylaws or rules of order, if you could even do a telephone vote or something to accelerate a vote prior to August, that would allow us to get in front of, back to the school systems that are trying to place kids with us in a time frame where they still might have an ability to do that. That's just as a consideration. But you may have questions, and we're all happy to answer.
Are you guys, do you have any further input? I know you've got your direct, you have other people here.
No, he's done a good job.
Any questions? We'll start with Brian.
My concern is, you want to push us into making a decision before our August meeting. You just stated that your licensing through the state and the DES is going to take 1.5 years, so what difference it would make if we waited until our August meeting?
This is the difference. If we, and I'm not trying to push into it,
I've read through this a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to sit down and look at the Chapter 76 and the regulations and everything that go along with it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not making a decision right now. I'm going to go home and look at this. I've heard a lot of comments about the school. Some people have come to me that went to your open house. And I have some reservations about it.
I'm not asking for a vote tonight. I specifically did not ask for that. But what I'm just asking is if there is a way, after you have all taken whatever time you need to look at this and to come to whatever conclusions you're going to come to, if you have the ability in your bylaws or whatever government.
I don't think we do by state law. All our meetings have to be held in public with a quorum and voted appropriately. So we can't do phone votes, we can't do it via email. Those are all illegal. So.
Okay, so the open meeting law is really the bottom line here.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we have to defer
No, I understand.
to Dr. Mulqueen and our attorneys. And once we get the green light from the two of them, we can approve it. But it's been a frustrating process. When you look at this matrix from February 14th to not be given the information, if it's a serious venture, it should be taken seriously. And yet we're still lacking 3 of the categories which you stated that these are state required. So if the state requires them, for us to turn a blind eye on these and to not even have them completed and approved is a little difficult to entertain at this point.
All right. The state requires themselves to look at those in detail. They don't require you, they don't allow you to make a negative vote based on those categories. That's the way the law is.
It's supposed to be part of the submittal process to the committee though, correct?
That's optional. I mean, that depends on what the committee wants. I mean, that's where there's a lot of confusion. And again, I said, and we're more than happy to give you all of that information, and we will do that. We'll do that timely, and we'll do that in the next day or so. And we would have brought it tonight if we realized those were the open concerns.
I'm in agreement with Brian on the fact that we just got the letter from the attorney. We're going to have to look at it and make sure everything is what it appears to be. I'm not voting on something that I haven't even had a chance to read, so I think the best we can offer is to schedule you for the first business meeting in August, which I don't know the date of that.
19th.
August 19th.
On the assumption that everything is complete in the packet, is it then reasonable?
Yeah, so I'll be forwarding more information as I get it, and then that will give you an opportunity to read through Paige's information as well.
Did you have discussion with Paige about this? Because I can read this letter 2 ways. One is that there would be nothing holding us back from approving it without this information on the front. I don't know, but I don't know if that's me reading it the correct way or not.
Well, I think,
Right, well, that's how.
I think for everybody to have a chance to look this over would be good, and then I'll be in touch with everyone too after I get the
But have you
final
had a
information.
discussion with Paige regarding her thoughts on?
I have, and I think it would be a good idea to delay until August.
How long did Paige,
the attorney take to generate this response?
How long did she take for?
To generate this response?
I think last week. I was away on vacation. I received it on the 9th. I think she took about a week to do that.
But that's after receiving information on June 26th from the academy, right? So,
No,
Oh, that's
Paige
from
has been
HB.
independent of
Oh, okay.
the receipt of information. So I called Paige and asked her before I left for vacation, to give us some guidance so that we don't have the same information.
So that tied this up 3 weeks right there, didn't it?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Jack?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I agree that, I don't see any reason why we should hold this up. For what I'm reading from the attorney's response, I don't feel like I'm being encouraged to vote this down.
or could we do some kind of approval condition with conditions that you are comfortable with their follow-up material?
That's not a bad option, because at the end of the day, we're all deferring to Jeff and council anyway.
Right.
so
Right.
If that is
That you can
comfortable
make
with,
a motion to approve this
based on confirmation.
pending additional information being provided and to the approval of Dr. Mulqueen and the
Can I
attorney.
ask-
So that if you don't get comfortable with the additional information, then it would be a negative vote for us. But if you are comfortable with that, that gives us the ability.
Well, I would delay until August if
Well, that's what I
we
mean.
still
but
had
that-
questions.
If we motion so that there is, if you're comfortable and the lawyers are, then
Yeah.
it can move forward. And that's kind of a,
Take Doug, then I'll get to Jack.
I just had a question. What age is the children that,
It's middle and high school, so starting 12 through 22 if they need to be there.
okay.
And I anticipate that some of the students we get might even be the postgraduate students, which will get a certificate from the public schools and just need that extra vocational life skill training.
Where in Merrimack, may I ask, is the school?
Where?
Yeah.
On the hill at West
It's
Main
at the old
Street.
harbor schools, right on 110 where the old harbor schools used to be.
Okay.
big red barn.
Across from Bridge.
It's pretty
Good-
campus.
It's good use of the building, really. I mean, it's been there empty for a while.
Jack?
My concern, and it's just an observation, okay? You're telling us, and I have no reason not to believe you, that we don't have to do a 1 through 11, okay? We're not responsible for it. But I'm surprised, from February 14th, nothing was submitted. February 20, one thing was completed. Then in March, I think that's when we took our vote.
Yeah,
was
let
it?
me bring you a little clarity on that, Jack. So plenty of information has been submitted, but there were specific questions that were raised for each of those that left it incomplete.
Right.
So I don't want it to appear as though nothing was submitted, but there were questions or feedback that was provided that required additional information. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Any other questions? So what I'm going to be looking for is a motion.
Can I just say one thing? Hank had mentioned to me that the school committee members were getting phone calls from parents, and I just want you all to know that I have not solicited one phone call. I haven't asked any parents to speak on my behalf. I want to have a collegial relationship with the district, not just Pentucket, but any district that we deal with. So I just want you to just clear the air there, because I haven't solicited any phone calls from parents, so I apologize if parents have been calling on my behalf, but they haven't, so.
Thank you. Ryan?
Just to clarify, I had a few people call me and talk to me about it. It wasn't on your behalf,
Okay.
it was more of, we went to your open house, and this is gonna be a wonderful school, and it's gonna open in September, and I says, we haven't got anything yet, it hasn't been approved, so they're all getting ready to take their kids out of our school and put them in yours.
Yeah.
And, I'm looking at it as, well, wait a minute,
And I can
they haven't been
understand where
approved
that
yet,
concern would come, yeah.
and everybody's telling me you have been. That was my concern, and then speaking with the superintendent, and he said that the paperwork you submitted wasn't complete.
Yeah. No,
And then
I-
we made our vote to deny it, and now you're back before our committee again.
just a quick clarification, but the 5 students who we are working with towns, none of them are in the Pentucket district.
But these were parents of our Pentucket children that wanted to take our children, their children out of our school system and put them at yours.
We can't control that.
Well, I understand that, but, you know, they're all looking at, hooray, hooray, we're gonna go there. And, you know, I'm gonna burst their bubble and say, no, you're not, because it hasn't been approved yet. And if you run an unauthorized school, that was another question, is what happens if this doesn't get off the ground and you've taken these kids in?
We can't take them in until it gets off the ground.
So what was the unauthorized?
Well, our approval, but then you can operate without DESE final approval.
What happens is, we can submit our application to DESE once we get it approved. Then we have a period of time, as everybody needs, to run a program that's not approved by DESE. It's called an unauthorized program at that point. There is a process by which a school district that wants to put a child in an unauthorized private school goes through in terms of filling out a lot of forms, doing a whole lot of things and stuff. So, and there's certainly accountability, and there's all kinds of stuff, and there's a rate established by the state, not us, and all that. And that can go on. Actually, you know, it's not a good idea for it to go on, but there are a couple of schools in this state, fairly well-known schools, that have never gotten approved. And,
So what happens to the child's education if they're not approved by the DES?
well, the bottom line is that the child's education is really dependent on the quality of what's going on in the school. And the quality of what's going on in the school is only marginally impacted by what's going on in DESE.
But when, I mean, you can't give the kid a certificate or a diploma saying he's graduated from high school or from his private school if it hasn't been approved by the DES, correct?
Yes, you can. If the child meets the graduation requirements of the sending school district and passes MTS, then they can do it with phone.
Okay.
But at the open houses, it was never mentioned that we were approved, because clearly we're not, and I would never, you know, that would be false advertising. But parents do get excited when they see something, so I apologize on their behalf, but we would not, we want to play by the rules.
Okay, let's, Douglas first, maybe.
You have to come back to me.
Okay, go to Jack then, he
I
bought
knew
some
I'd
time.
been waiting and you forget about it, okay?
Thank you, Jack.
My question is, okay, we know that you said you haven't received any Pentucket. My concern is, if I'm not mistaken, you stated that the parents wouldn't come back and say Pentucket has to pay for the education towards the children if they go to your school. And they sign that and they know that, correct? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, number 2, okay, what happens if the parents, okay, not the kids, but the parents, decide, this really isn't what my kid really needs. I'm gonna send them back to Pentucket. What do we do then? We've made the assignments of classes. I wouldn't imagine any kind of break or any kind of a thing from there would happen until December, when the first period comes out of marking and stuff. So all of a sudden, Christmas week, the superintendent gets informed from the principal in the high school that they have 4 kids coming back.
That's not going to happen this year, for sure, because there are no kids from Pentucket even in our pipeline. The children you're talking about, where the families may have gotten excited at the open house, they're going to have to come to your special education department and process and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you about sending our kid to Merrimack Heights Academy. And you folks can say, you know, we have a really good program here in the middle school or the upper school for these kinds of kids. We're not interested. They come to us, we're going to say, come back to us when you have worked something out with Pentucket ahead of time. We're not going to bring your kid in here. We're not going to get them placed. We're not going to cooperate with a parent effort to go to the BSCA and have a hearing. We're staying neutral on all this stuff. We're not going to get involved in it. We're not going to be expert witnesses on behalf of kids who families want them to come up to our place. That's just bad business. That's not neighborly, and that's bad for business in the long run. We're not going to do that kind of thing. So you have control over that process a lot more, I think, than anybody else at the early stages. If a family comes to Pentucket's special ed department and says, hey, we're really interested in Merrimack Heights Academy, you guys have whatever discussions you have with them. That's your business. That's not our business. Until you, as a school committee, or your agents in the special department say, hey, we think this makes sense for this kid. And you may never say that.
What I was gonna say, Richly, where these people are setting up a business, it's in the same skills that we have, I think it would be a good test that, you know, if kids were trying to make the move there, we'd have to look at them and see what are they doing better than we're doing. I mean, it's a competition thing, and I think it's fine. I'm not sure with it. I'd like to know the superintendent's idea on it. Does he support it? Does he?
What's my recommendation?
Yes.
My recommendation is that once we have the information, if it meets the criteria that were established, that you approve it. So I'm not a hostile.
How much more do we need?
Just about there.
We're just
I
about
saw,
there.
I saw that there, but I mean,
Yeah.
what?
So if you turn to page 2, turn it over one sheet, you see that there are 3 questions that were asked quite a while back. And I have some assurances that I'll be getting that information, so I think we're in pretty good shape.
Well, at this point, I'd like to see if I can get a motion, and I'll state it and see if somebody will then make it. That the school committee allow the superintendent to approve Merrimack Heights Academy after a complete submittal of documents and review with the district's attorney.
I'll make that.
Well, the only change there is I would want you to say that you approve it, not the superintendent.
Okay.
Because it's your approval, not mine.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Brian?
Brian?
Yeah.
Can we get AC on?
Yeah.
No.
Turn back on, Jack.
Yeah, we turn the AC on.
I think so.
They weren't getting
Damn
warm.
right, Jack.
You should have worn your shorts, people, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your hospitality.
I get that back, right?
Sorry, Joanne.
Do I get that back?
I couldn't sweat them out.
All righty. Update on the athletic facilities.
Committee and sweat lodges, what is it?
So we'd like to provide you with an update on the athletic facilities. Greg has been the one monitoring that more closely than me for the past 2 weeks.
Writing time logs.
Yes, exactly. So here he goes.
We are, both the consultant and I, actually, I'll say this, are pleased with the progress. It is about a week ahead of schedule. We've had one difficulty out back where we found out that the middle school roof drains were tied into what they call a manhole, a cistern, in which went into a pipe under the track, which is no longer there. So there is another cistern parallel to it. There's going to be a change order. I'll probably approve it Thursday. It'll be for $7,000 to run the line then to that, so we'll not be putting any additional water into the track area.
And there was a contingency built into it.
We have a contingency in it, yes.
Was there money built in for the budget?
Yes, we have a 10% contingency on the project.
Thank you.
This will be the
Doing good on
first, this will be the first hit against that. And we're almost out of the ground. And that's where you're going to find almost all your problems are below grade. Out front, as you see when you come in, the irrigation system is in. We'll be running it off the well until the pump that we've ordered to take water out of the Merrimack River arrives. But in the meantime, that field will be the first one to come online because of field hockey in the fall. They're going to scarify the earth. That's something we noted, that we didn't like it compacted as much as it is for drainage. So they're going to tear it up a little bit. You see them sifting the material that's going to be going back in, and they estimate having the irrigation system and the sod placed the last week of July, which is about a week ahead of the usual schedule. If you look out back, I encourage you all to take a ride around back when you leave. The chute wall had been constructed. I thought it was kind of neat when I went out and actually looked at it, because I'd never seen anything like it in all the years. Apparently this gentleman does this all over the country. He said the only place he's ever seen that kind of a chute system was Weber State University. that they've had this. He goes, it's really kind of cool, but and I, of course, immediately said, how's the water get out of it, because I was afraid it's going to turn into a swimming pool. He assured me that the drainage system was going to go in there and stuff. So right now, I've been happy with their progress. We meet every Thursday. As the Finance Subcommittee sees, I have been asking them to put in for pay every 2 weeks instead of monthly, because it's a short timeline project, a big money project with a lot of upfront costs to the contractor. Wall materials of here and all, and fuel costs, and I do not want him sitting on a lot of money. These are the type of things that come back later when you need a little favor maybe that they remember parts when you get near the end. No other changes are foreseen at this time. I said we're pretty much out of the ground. The next 2 weeks we'll have that. The wall will go up where the softball field is. They estimate that the second week of August will be asphalt time for the track and the tennis courts. So hopefully by the next time you have a full meeting here in the middle of August, you'll have something really to get a good look at.
Tell them about your uprights that we weren't getting, that we are getting now.
The contractor came in and basically said, well, the football uprights that go in the middle of the track, where do you know, what color do you want the pads? I went, what football uprights? That's a soccer or lacrosse field. That's not the football field. The training field's out front. We were thinking of an ad and putting a goalpost out there. And we checked around with everybody. Although it was on the plans and bid that way, none of us had the assumption it was going there, so we don't have to do the ad for the goalpost. They're just going to take the ones out back and put them out front.
Good.
So there's no additional cost there. That'll be the practice field for a whole number of things.
But it was in the original bid for us.
It was originally big, but we were going to do initial ones out there. No one had quite noticed it. It was such a small thing. They've also submitted certain requests for things, and the only thing I've told them is don't put Sachem's or the logo of the Indian on it. I'd prefer the P or Pentucket on everything, just in case the Washington Redskins thing comes down the pipe. I mean, we're known by either one, so I figured that'd be the safer way to go forward with it. Other than that, everything's cruising along. The consultants are happy. The field track guy was out today. I haven't talked to them to check the width of the track and thing for the second time.
Give them a new ruler.
Jack gave me.
No. We, when they finally finished the things, I ran out there with a tape measure and came up with 34 feet and went 42 inches times, yeah, that's wide enough. So, that's,
Make sure the tracks are
yeah.
lined
Make
up.
sure
That's what I said, make
Oh,
sure he
yeah.
has a new ruler when he does it.
Yeah, so, and hopefully I can try to get the gentleman out after they put the asphalt down. The gentleman from the state track and field, MIAA, MIAA, I want, before we put the top on the track and line it, I want him to get a good look at it before we do it and after. So hopefully I can get someone out to do that too.
Nice.
Because we are not going to be the people that built this track wrong again, I promise you.
Thank you.
Greg,
Yes,
you're doing good outside. Has the boilers been, the project started on the boilers? for
today,
the school?
withdrawal started today.
Okay, so that started today.
Yep, the contract's been awarded to ADCO, Ambient Tempered out of Middleton.
Yeah.
The roof project goes out to bid, opened bid at the end of the month. The advertisement's already been in the paper.
Yeah.
We wanted to kind of offset those a little bit because we could wait a little bit on the roof where it's a replacement, not really for a leak. We didn't want to get out of the prime roofing season to open up more bidders. So we'll probably try to do that work in September because it's fairly quick work.
Yeah.
But the removal has started.
Okay, what about the generator?
The lead time on that is 6 weeks. It's not here yet, but
Okay,
it's,
so
it's included in the cost.
But we're
But the
not-
old generator goes to the high school.
Right, but we're not gonna be removing it this year, this summer.
Oh, yeah?
We are,
The new gas one will be online by the fall.
okay.
And the one that's there, per the request of several committee members, will be moved to the high school and secured and wrapped up in case it can be used there.
Okay. The tank,
Oil tank will be removed once these guys, prior to, I wanted to make sure they had access to those doors to get all the material out. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
cutting and blow torching and getting all that stuff out of those doors.
Yeah.
And once they get inside there and get all the stuff inside, then I will contact the three guys on the state bid list for oil tank removal
Yeah.
to get them to price it, and we'll get that out of there hopefully very quickly. I mean, judging by the Bagnell one, it took them about a week to get it out of there. Week to backfill it and da-da-da-da.
Are there any parts, here's the scavenger in me, are there any parts in those boilers
That we're saving?
that can save over to the sisters that are over in the high school?
No. However, there are parts of this that we are saving, not the main heating system, but some controls, some valves that we
Right,
are
yeah,
saving.
yeah.
And the I-beams that are being taken out that sit there, we're actually saving those when they cut them. So the I-beams that sit like the big pressure tanks up there, we're saving the I-beams and gonna store them down below in case we ever have a chance to like run them across the floors to build a storage area, because the project has everything set to the left. So where you come through those two big metal doors there, we
Right.
could actually have a fairly large platform as a storage area.
Okay, but I mean, any, like the gas train, we paid for the gas trains on these, and the same gas trains that are
Yeah,
on the other.
any parts that are compatible with any of the other buildings, the facilities director has given them a long list. I'm not as familiar with his. These are things that are to be saved.
Okay,
Yes, he went through all of that with them at the walkthrough.
thank you.
Update on-
Bulldozer could go a little bit more to the left, I
Yeah, we're trying to get them to back up because it makes a beeping noise and some of the residents are. But, no, it's going very quickly, it's going very well. No one is unhappy right now. A couple of the neighbors have come by and asked questions, but again, nothing that was far less than was expected, I'll put it that way, based upon what happened with the Pines when my experience over there. No, the neighbors are all supportive of it. In fact, they're quite enjoying it. They kind of look at it, they look around. But it's a short timeline, it will be done.
I got asked today by the barber whether we were gonna keep the berm around the
No way.
track. I said, no,
Little
we're
barber?
not going to. What we do that? He said, I thought you guys had a sunken field or something in there. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, it's being done very, very well.
Good. good.
These fields will not be wet, they will be drained, they will be... And I'm encouraged by how quick the grass is growing in the pile of dirt out back without any help at all. It's pretty much turned green in 2 weeks, so... And that's, any other questions, or?
Why the water? They're outside exercising the valve at the main street. Why are they shutting the water off to the high school?
Why were they shutting the water off when they're...
No, why they're going to. It's a
Because-
scheduled thing to do, but,
Because they're afraid when they exercise the valve, it might pop again. They want to make sure that we don't have water running through the school like we did last time.
oh, so in case something happens,
Yeah.
so the high school
I asked the
isn't
same
being shut
question.
down for water?
No, just while they do it, real quick. We're
Okay,
just going to kill the valve, let them do the thing. In case their valve breaks,
yeah,
we wouldn't have a rush of water going through. We're gonna
okay.
shut down.
You don't need that.
Don't fool,
Good.
can't fool us twice. I'm pretty sure Wayne couldn't go through that again. I don't think Wayne could survive that again.
Are we all set? Great. Update on the high school recovery.
Okay, for this, again, I did a very quick little preparation. Yeah, just start a couple that way and I'll throw a couple this way. Of kind of what we're looking at here right now. Again, this is one of those things. And the superintendent and I have talked about it. I've talked about it with members of the committee. I've talked about it with Greg Haddon. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is, it's all kind of a guess. I mean, will we need the rooms? Will we get a new school in 5 years? All these things are kind of unknowns. So there's really not a right or a wrong answer with any of this.
Wait,
This
when you
is-
say new school, you mean renovation?
A renovation.
Okay.
I'm saying, yeah, so there's really not a right or a wrong answer here. It's kind of a best guess type of a thing. This is where we are. I'll go through the nurses report, the nurses, 2/3 of the way down the left, the nurse's office, that has to be done. The insurance is not going to pay for that. We're going to have to spend that $50,000 to backfill that. And the insurance company has, as you can see, the available funds. They've paid us $48,234.46. They basically, in car vernacular, have totaled the mods. This is what they gave us, this is what they said the value of it was, and they walked away from it. They're not going to be
No
paying.
debate or recourse with that? I mean,
No,
How much was that, Greg?
$48,234.46. They've also reimbursed us for all the custodians' overtime, any nurses' equipment that were lost.
And that's in
the
addition to the 48,
In
or
addition to
that's
that.
included?
That's money that they reimbursed us to. That was an additional $45,778.
But that's paid
That
out.
goes back into our budget.
Well, no, we paid, I set up a quick account and paid for all the custodians' overtime, because by opening a quick account, I can track it.
Yeah.
It was easier to report to the insurance companies, I can get the money back quicker. I was more up against the end of the fiscal year, and I didn't want to have a fund deficit anywhere. So, these are estimates that I've gotten from the facilities people of what we're looking at to bring the mods back up to running speed, which is the 108,894. What it would cost to just get rid of them, which is about $13,000. And the net effect of the nurse's office plus either of those scenarios, minus what we've got from the insurance company, how much additional funds we would have to find within our own budget this year as we go forward, based upon which scenario you choose.
And essentially, it's just the 4 classrooms in that modular unit that we're
Now-
talking about replacing.
And I won't speak to the educational side of it. The superintendent and the principals have all worked with those people to determine where they're going and how it's going to work. So, I mean, I won't speak to that part of it. I'll just speak to the money part of it. And this is where we are. Again, no right or wrong answer here.
Right.
It's
So
kind of a,
does the superintendent feel comfortable that we can absorb those classrooms in other areas of the building? And
We already have.
you've absorbed them, but I mean, to continue, I mean,
Yep, so
people
si-
were between classrooms. I've heard a couple teachers were sharing the classroom.
Since April 13th, that afternoon, Jonathan and Ken came together, reorganized, redistributed the classrooms so that we wouldn't interrupt anything. And then since then, once we get the news that the modulars were going to be so expensive to bring back online, Jonathan and Ken have also done that work again to redistribute, and I don't see a need for those right now. So I'm not feeling very pressured about the $110,000 for classroom space right now. And what's weighing on me is that when we apply for an MSBA application, when we make that application, what's our best strategy for getting their attention, to move forward? So that's weighing on my mind a little bit.
Tight quarters.
What's that?
Tight quarters.
Well, population density is something that they consider very highly. So, the other part is how do we manage a vacant area that really has been condemned, if you want to use that kind of language, by our insurance company. So, my inclination is that we get rid of it, that we make our best effort. For an MSBA application, and as Greg said, there's no guarantee. We can't guarantee anything. But if, on the other hand, we didn't come through in a good way with that application, we may want to consider putting some kind of addition or modular system. But this one has already exceeded its life expectancy. So that's kind of, what I'm thinking about.
I had questions from Jack and then
I am for repairing the modules. Reasons being is the prices that we have here, Greg hadn't got them, okay? He had to get them. He had to get them fast because this is how the insurance companies were working.
These are
What's this,
estimates.
what's this?
yeah, these are
Rent
estimates.
savings, you think you were for them, or you're not?
I'm for keeping them, and I'm telling you why, okay? The HVAC part of it, $25,000, we have on staff someone that does the HVAC. He runs all of our boilers for all the schools. What it consists of is the heating elements inside each unit. The air conditioning unit is fine. They have to go in, disconnect them, pull them out, put new ones in, because they're cracking along the seams. And I understand that, okay? The length of the pipe, they say that the repair of the pipe is because the pipe went so far and then they ran hose up around. I believe that they exceeded what length they could have gone, okay? They shouldn't have approved it. They may be different now. You can only go with a shorter pipe. All that the HVAC gentlemen that we have on staff would have to do is to put a coupling in and lengthen the piece of pipe and then come in with a short piece of flexible hose, if need be. Repair floors, walls, outside gutters, okay? The floors are on the bottom where it sits on the frame. These units sit on metal frames. They're still there. All you have to do is put the tires on it, you can roll them out, disconnect them. The unit, it's all rotted away and below. And the reason it's rotted and below is because there's no gutters on there. And the
You're
rain-
just selling me, Jack. You're just selling me.
In the rain.
It's because the roof doesn't work and the gutters aren't there. and-
Okay, so what I'm saying is that the unit below, the price he got was from a small contractor, never went out to bid. Got one price. Got one price from the HVAC remaining work to be done. The flooring, I believe that's what he's talking, because you've got a check already, correct? To put the mods together.
No, we've got a check for what they gave us for what they considered the value. They totaled them. It's only in car vernacular. It could be a beautiful car, but they're gonna say, yeah, not
But
fixable.
doesn't that also include it if we put the mods together?
This is
If we
the
kept
money
them.
that we have.
No, they gave us $4,234. Once you hit that door between the main 6 classroom base and the mod, they're done.
Okay,
No more cost
okay.
is gonna be associated with that.
Okay,
They're done with
okay.
it.
Now, the thing being is the superintendent stated that the classes are taken care of, okay?
For the short term.
Right. There's 26 classes, okay, correct? There's 6
Four
periods
classes,
a
6
day
periods.
and 4
Well, there are that
classrooms.
many periods, right?
Yeah, okay. So for those classes, they're going to be here, right here where you're sitting.
Or at the high school.
They're going to be in another room that the middle school has, and they're going to be over here in the library, and I believe they're going to be here.
In this room?
There's 3 places they're going to be over here, okay? So that means the movement of pupils. They're going to have to walk every single day. If they've got a class over here, they've got to walk through wind, rain, and snow,
Like the other kids that use the other
like
side.
like the other ones that does this over here,
Like private
okay?
school students do.
And like
Now-
private school
Oh my
kids.
God.
College kids, that's what I was saying.
Prep school
The-
students,
We can
I
build
did
a
that.
walkway for them, Jack.
The thing,
Jack, is this uphill both ways?
what?
Is this walk gonna be uphill both ways?
No, no.
With a
I've
refrigerator on
asked
its
if
back.
TD Bank could get a big umbrella for us,
Okay.
okay?
Buy some Pentucket.
But now we're utilizing space over here. Could they use them? Yes, they could, okay? They could use them, the classrooms over there, to be the mod. In 5 years, is the towns all going to say, yes, we will approve an override? You have too many what-ifs. In 5 years, it's taken place, okay? A lot of kids have walked across, okay, this beaten path. And I'm just saying, I feel as if with good estimating, not from one person out in Bellrica to replace the pipes, okay? Not to get a price from one person that's in Groveland, that's a small carpenter, not a big company, having come into it.
But we've had almost every project that we've seen come through. We get these thumbnail estimates, and we think they're great. We go forward with them. I'll take the fields, 800,000 to 2.6. So your number, I really don't think is going to go down in the long run. I mean,
And I think the thing I heard that was very important to me, the decision I'm going to make on this, is the superintendent made it very clear that these have outlived their useful life. There's lots of problems with the mods to begin with. And to repair something that's outlived it, it's totaled anyways, by the insurance company. To put more money into that when we can absorb it, I think it's better for us financially to look at ways to absorb it. I would like to see us do as much as we can to locate these classes within the high school if something works to become available, but I can't see keep putting Band-Aids on this thing. That's a problem.
I think if there was salvageable, the insurance company would have pushed us in that direction.
Yep.
I've done enough building repairs to know that when you're doing a new construction, you got a good chance of hitting your target. But when you're doing a repair and a rehab, it's almost impossible to hit that number. As far as bidding goes, Geez, I've done a lot of work with the towns. And the smaller companies tend to give you the lower numbers. They're more hungry for the work and they can justify a lower price. You start going for the big, turnkey operations, and that price is just going to go up. Now, these schools have outlet reviews. If they're an eyesore on the front of what we would like to call a world-class school, they're the first thing you see when you pull in that parking lot. And if all we have to do right now is plant some shrubs and move on, and not worry about water pouring out our windows. I know that there's a fight within the school itself because their air conditioning broke. I understand that. But there are only 4 air conditioners, once the rest of the school is taking the heat wave.
Hopefully that doesn't impact that decision.
No, I know, but
But
the teachers prefer to have those classrooms.
Of course. I think I've asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it again. What's the price of a mod?
Those two were $330,000 12 years ago?
For both?
Yeah.
So if we're looking at 110 to replace, or to fix 2, why can't we just buy 1? And that way we'll add 2 classes.
Because we don't have the money, first of all.
Well, I think
Well, I mean, Jack's abdicating to fix them. I mean, if you're gonna fix them at 110, we might as well buy one mod and have 2 classes for a couple $100,000.
I think that's where I am too, Brian, but I want to give our application to MSBA a chance before we go jumping on to adding more mods on.
But Mike, I had a question on that when you said it. They know that a mod is a temporary situation, that you've done that to alleviate some of the stress, so they really can't value that significantly.
But it's our circumstance. The mods right now have been taken away from us, and that's an opportunity in my mind to make our case. Whereas if we repair it, we can make the case they've outlived their life expectancy. When you go in, it's sort of like when we have people come to our schools and they go, look how nice and shiny these floors are. What are you talking about? Your school is in need of, we want to make our best case.
I agree with that. If we were to go ahead and put mods up, and then we try to debate with the state on how dire we are, they're gonna see this brand new facility on the front, they're gonna say, well, are you?
You got a few people, so I'll go with Chris,
I'm gonna make a
Jack,
motion.
and then Brian.
To repair the nurses and the administrative offices and remove the modular classrooms.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? I know I got Jack and Brian still, so. Go ahead, Jack.
Okay. Is there any guarantee, Greg, Jeff, any guarantee, how far are we away from working on the high school?
That's our next project. So that's what.
But how many years are we away?
What I would predict, Jack, for a timeline is in this spring, when we go to our spring meetings, we need to have secured the towns in their willingness to move forward with the project. It's the finances that count for us. So we need to make our best case, but without the towns backing us financially, the state won't even look at us. So if we were to get, in the fall, make our case, get that written up, bring it to town meeting, get some kind of approval from folks, I think that would give us a good case that in 2 years we could be on that, have an approval.
Did we talk about checking to see if we could put something on the ballots for the towns this spring, a non-binding question?
You know, there are all ways to get some different kinds of levels of approval from the towns. And what I'm getting, the sense I'm getting is the momentum is growing for us with first our elementary schools, now with the grounds project. Everyone is looking at the high school as the next project. So I'm not seeing it as something that people are going to balk at. The balk was coming from all these promises kept being made and then nothing was happening. Now it seems like we're getting some momentum, and I think we're ready.
So you said in 2 years, then we'd have MSBA approval,
Yeah.
and then it would be however long to.
And then however long it takes for them, because they have a whole process to go through too.
Okay.
Do we have a price?
I don't have any information, Jack. So I know you're a detail guy, We have estimates here, and I have
40
even-
million.
Yeah, so between a pretty big number and a really big number.
Right, I mean,
Well, the first stage will be a feasibility study, like we did at
Right.
Bagnell.
when we walked through them, some of us walked through them, okay? The last time that Senator Tarr was here,
That's right, yeah.
and Ives and everything and the whole
Yeah.
bit. And we all looked at the price.
Yeah.
I believe it was $48 million.
Well,
We had a sheet.
that has no bearing on, that has no bearing on, you know,
Well,
the
the
No,
end.
and it
reason I'm-
depends on what you put into what work you're going to do.
That's right.
Let's focus on this issue too,
Yeah.
though. So can I
Okay,
take Joanna
Motion on the floor.
and then Brian?
I just, one thing,
Well,
I
we're
just want to
discussing
make
the
it
motion.
clear.
I know.
Groveland is throwing up houses over at Estes Lumber.
That's
They're going to be
right.
rentable.
Merrimack is too.
And West
We
Newbury.
cannot guarantee that those kids are all going to go to the lower grades, okay? And so I don't know how and when and how many numbers there are. I know that they just cut a road for something down
River cottages or
there,
something.
yeah, cottages down there.
Merrimack's
Yeah, but I
looking
think
at
that's
41
older.
units on 110.
Anticipation, how many kids have left the district now to go to private schools or whatever? They're not leaving from here, going to private schools.
That's
They're
right.
going over to the high school. They want to stay here.
But we are reducing the number of school choice as we.
Right, we understand that,
system.
yeah.
So we're working a good way, Jack. We're on a good path. I can't control all the different factors that are out there.
I just.
I was surprised when we started our project at the Bagnell School. Easy. That when the feasibility study came in, and we started looking at the numbers, they were going down. And really what sold that project was the core of the building and upgrade, not the classroom. We didn't have one classroom in that building, it didn't need it.
Yeah.
And that was because these numbers, the trend is going down.
Okay, I'm going to take Joanna next, and then we'll
Yeah.
go to Brian.
So if by spring, at town meeting, we don't get approval from the towns for financial support for MSBA, then we probably would look at some kind of modular unit.
Yeah, I'm
But-
not saying you'll never look at some
Yeah.
other kind of building, but for right now, it
For
would
right
help
now.
make our case, I think.
So I think it would be worth at least, approving the motion on the floor and
Plus, we don't have
waiting
the money
till
to do it
spring.
right now.
Right.
Well, that was my concern. I mean, if you're gonna go for an MSBA project, you're gonna go for 2.5 override.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, are we a little soon at trying to do something like that? You know, we've only been a couple of years where we haven't gone for an override, and now you're gonna,
But
and I
Brian,
understand what it's for.
But Brian, if you think about how I've always approached our budgets, I've always gone to the towns and say, my operational budget I will keep from the override, but any big project that would require it, I can't keep that from you.
And this wouldn't be technically an override, it'd be a debt exclusion.
Yeah.
So it's not a permanent thing, it's a
Okay.
20-year thing and then it goes bye-bye. I know 20 years sounds permanent to a lot of us, but it does
would be to me.
disappear. Merrimack's override system is a little different. When all these projects came to fruition, obviously the grounds project we did within our own capabilities. The Bagnell School is part override, part within its capabilities, and the green repair was done within its own capabilities. Merrimack did both green repairs within its capabilities, no override. West Newbury went the other way and put everything on overrides, and they passed. So every town's in a different position going forward in this. So, but the one that has the least amount going forward that's already thrown at the schools in debt is Merrimack. Bagnell second, and then West Newbury's at the top.
I'm wondering if you're right, if we put something on, a non-binding thing, just to see where we are.
Well, I didn't make that up, that's what we talked about.
Yeah.
That's what I thought we were doing.
Financial advisory committee, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, test the waters.
you just have to let the clerks know.
When our project moved over, I was actually surprised that we went forward without the finance boards. Gave us unfavorable action. A lot of people rose to the occasion. They campaigned for us. This district has been very conservative in the last few years with the budget. And I think the taxpayers know that, appreciate it, and I think they support us. They see the need in that building.
Right.
Anybody that's been through that building clearly can see the shortcomings.
Do we have any Further discussion relative to the motion?
Point of order, speaking of the motion. Could we make these two separate motions?
You mean do the nurse's office?
Yeah,
And
I
then the
mean,
mods?
do the nurse's office and do the...
We have to.
Whatever,
That's- no,
yeah.
We have to, there's a big hole in the floor.
Do them separately, both
All
separate.
right, so I will restate the motion then.
Well, do you want to?
Make a motion to repair the nurse's office and administrative offices.
Do you want to? You
As
don't
one.
have-
I'm
That's
fine with
fine.
making them separate, because
Second.
then he'll at least vote yes for
Okay,
something.
second,
Yeah, let's get Jack for what we
yeah,
can.
Second on the motion?
second.
Second.
All in favor?
I will now make a motion to,
minute.
oh, sorry.
All opposed?
Wayne's abstaining.
Then I will make a second motion to approve removal of the modular classrooms.
Second.
Any discussion?
Crazy idea to spend money to remove them. Can we keep them there until all the applications are in for the state? Is there any reason, law, that we can't keep them in that condition and close them
Liability?
off instead of spending
Keep-
the money
keep them.
to remove them? So when the state evaluates things, we've got 2 condemned modulars right here.
It's like having the old car in the front
I
yard.
think you answer your own question at the end of that question.
Would filling the hole, repairing the hole in the nurse's office be easier if you take the mods out?
No, they're far away from each other.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, one's way up near the cafeteria, the nurse's office, the mod's always in the hall.
I remember Jeff saying something about they
Yeah.
had to infuse concrete or
Right.
something in a...
The concern, and the only concern I have in Wayne's is, because the insurance companies walked away from these, if we leave them on there,
They're not sure.
I still want to disconnect all the electric, all the gas, because if a fire started in there and spread into the main building, they may have a problem with us.
These things that we will hold so much value in, you will not get anybody to, we did the same thing back, who wants them? Who wants to come and get these? That person doesn't exist.
I would think your insurance company would want those off of the building too. That's a liability.
Like I said, I mean, if anything happened there, if someone lit them on
Yeah.
fire or something,
Somebody go ahead.
I mean, that, we're not insured at all if they're there.
Okay.
Told the Jack's house.
Jack will fix them and put them back in the fall.
My feeling is, much like the
It's not my own
Bagnell ones,
private
Doug,
school.
if you put a tow hitch on these things and tried to pull them, like the ones at Bagnell, they just collapse on each other.
Okay.
Call Sparhawk School and Andrew, see if they want them.
Any further discussion on the
They
motion?
took everything else.
Jack?
What Wayne said, could you leave them there and put plywood down, disconnect the electrical, it has its own gas, I believe, meter that you could shut off, okay? And shut off, they all each have breakers inside there, and shut off the electrical one.
For what purpose is my question? These are units that have outlived their functioning life. I just looked at them before we came here. You're throwing good money after bad if you try and renovate them. Get rid of them.
Could we do a good job taking pictures of them in the condition they are, then tear them down and show them to the school? The state-
This is the problem we used to have?
Yeah, we've already taken it upon ourselves to tear the bad wing off the building.
Alrighty, unless we have any further pertinent discussion.
Jack, you can hold the last piece.
Alrighty, all in favor of the motion? All opposed? It's close. Yes.
Okay, so this, what I'm looking at, excuse me, is $13,000 to remove.
It was an estimate.
Yeah.
An estimate. How, what is it gonna be $50,000?
No, no.
Could be.
We have a solid, we have 2 solid quotes, and being the person that I am, and seeing all the heavy equipment running around here, I've asked for a price from the guy who's already on site with the big backhoes to knock them over as well.
There you go.
To remove the AC coolant and have that taken away, I just base that on, it's usually like $500 a unit to safely storage and remove it, there's 4 of them up there. And as for the 1,000 to direct to power gas, obviously that's just capping, valving, and there's its own power box there, so you can just disconnect it. So it may cost 13, it may cost 12, it may cost 14, but yeah, we're in the ballpark. It's not, the big thing is to haul it and dump it away. We have a solid price on that at
I will
9,800.
be I'll have my tent.
You've been here every day anyway, Jack.
I will be sleeping.
How would I notice the
in morning.
difference?
How would we know?
Jack comes in every day.
Arrested for trespassing.
Motion to.
No need for
I'll even make you
executive,
clerk of the works.
no need for executive
Yeah,
session,
yeah.
so I need a
Got my
motion.
hat. We have a
Roll call.
What's up, Wayne?
Point of interest, sorry I didn't give you a compilation of the superintendent's evaluation. It would have been real easily done. Just taking the one page and photocopying. It'll be given to you next meeting.
Appreciate that. The motion to adjourn?
motion adjourned.
I will tell you that based upon the vote you just did,
Adjourned.
I want
We
this
have an
going.
executive session?
All in favor?
Do we have executive?
No.
No.
No need?
All in favor to adjourn? Opposed? Thank you.
Don't let you know.